This week in games, Bungie seems to be in some serious trouble. Baldur's Gate 3 director calls out greed in the industry. Resident Evil 9 is going open world, and Xbox is flatlining. This is the Two Penny Gamescast. What's poppin', players? Welcome back to the Two Penny Gamescast, episode 192. I am your host, Tavin Bothel, here with my good friend and co-host. Say hello to the people, Connor Elliott.
What is up? It's a beautiful, beautiful Monday that this time is the recording is going on.
Indeed.
And it's a Tuesday for you.
Indeed.
That's when this comes out, right?
Yes, you're correct. Connor, this is the Two Penny Gamescast. We come to you live, twitch.tv/2pennygames every Monday at about 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. And the podcast uploads to youtube.com/@2pennygames or mainstream podcast services of your choice every Tuesday at 8 a.m. Central Time, which is probably the more likely time that you're listening to this. In fact, I can tell you, it is, if you're listening to this, that's how you're listening to it, because there ain't nobody in our chat right now. We're small time. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Two Penny Gamescast, where each week me and Connor come to you with two topics, two pennies, if you will, concerning the video game industry. We each come at you with two topics,
yeah,
two pennies. I know, but I just said that. I fucked up my intro. I fucked it up. It's been a couple of weeks since I fucked it up, but I fucked it up real bad. Anyways, we bring you the new nerdy news you need to know concerning the video game industry. We each come to you with two topics, two pennies, as I just said, and we give you our 2 cents on them. Connor, moving into our first topic of the day. This is my first penny of the day.
That's the one thing we didn't hash out, huh?
Yeah, we didn't hash that out. We probably should have. Anyways, yeah, sure, fuck it. Let's say it's mine.
Yeah.
Let me fix this. This doesn't look right.
Uh-oh.
This doesn't look right. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Sometimes you frame it wrong, and then it just goes up.
The camera needs to be physically moved. And it's going to fuck all the other shots up. Fuck it. We're moving on. We're doing it live, ladies and gentlemen. Bungie replaces Marathon director amid leadership shakeup, fears of layoffs. This is from IGN by Rebecca Valentine. Amid ongoing anxiety with Bungie following layoffs last year, the studio is now preparing for another shakeup, this time on Marathon, its upcoming service game intended as its next step beyond Destiny. According to multiple sources familiar with the matter, Bungie is in the midst of shifting around its creative leadership on Marathon, including removing longtime Bungie designer Christopher Barrett from the game director role. IGN learned he is being replaced by former Valiant game director Joe Ziegler, who left Riot Games for Bungie in 2022. IGN has reached out to Bungie for comment on whether or not Barrett will remain with the company. Bungie has not yet responded to IGN's request for comment, but shortly after we reached out, Ziegler confirmed his appointment as game director on X/Twitter. Quote, "For the last 9 months, I've been working on Marathon as the game director," he wrote. "We're still baking, but I'm excited to share with you more info on the game as we get closer and closer to bringing it all to you." Wow, this is going on. Sources tell IGN that Bungie is pouring resources into getting Marathon out the door. The game's direction has shifted somewhat under Ziegler's new leadership, one source says, including moving away from custom player characters in favor of a selectable cast of heroes. Wow. Upcoming Destiny 2 expansion, The Final Shape, is also being prioritized. There are growing fears and rumors that layoffs will immediately follow its release. One person with knowledge of budgets at Bungie told me that, quote, "nothing adds up," and, quote, "something will need to happen to curb costs unless The Final Shape does so well to cover the gap and people can move to Marathon." When Sony acquired Bungie, the studio brought with it a number of other incubation projects, including a MOBA-like game codenamed Gummy Bears. I want to see that game. And a new IP known as Matter. According to sources, Matter was canceled back in 2020, but the team continued working on a similar project with slightly different direction until that too was canceled in late 2022. Gummy Bears, meanwhile, is currently in a holding pattern due to the ongoing company struggles. Within the company, there is a growing expectation that senior company leadership will leave in droves in the summer of 2026, when the final payouts from Sony's acquisition of the company take effect. With this in mind, there is a strong push to get Marathon out the door before then and let whoever takes the reins, that be it Sony or Bungie, worry about how it's sustained.
Leaving them with a games as service game and then saying, all right, deal with it, guys. That seems in line with Bungie nowadays. I mean, they had the layoffs back in December of 2023, I believe.
Sounds right, something like that.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird. Now we're just hearing about this game director change 9 months after it occurred. You wonder why he exactly left. Company politics. Or
Well, we haven't confirmed that he's left Bungie yet, but we have.
Uh-huh.
We just all that's been confirmed is that we've switched.
I mean, we've always thought that Bungie are the kind of people that would be best at making this kind of game. But now with Destiny 2, with the most recent expansion flatlining a bit, not meeting expectations is probably a better way to put it. I'm curious about the state of Marathon, especially when you have the backdrop of, as it pointed out in this article, executives getting ready to leave potentially. It seems like that's kind of a recipe for a game that's, once again, being screwed up by a management team that just want to get out a game that they're told to, that's going to make a lot of money, being a, what do you call those games nowadays? Fucking competitive shooters? Fucking hero shooters?
It's still a games as a service game
Games
of
as a
some
service
kind.
game,
Yeah,
yeah.
but like, switching from character classes and created characters and so forth to hero type choosing of some kind. You maybe no, because you can create your character in Diablo, can't you? Or yeah,
To
you
a
can.
certain degree, at least.
Yeah, there's a character creator in there. Yeah. So I don't know what to call it, but that seems significantly less interesting than being able to create my own guy, which is probably something Destiny players were expecting. That's what I would have expected.
That's what they do. Loot.
Yeah,
in
kind
a
of.
form.
In that kind of shooter and so forth, and also this rush to get Marathon out the door. Why? Like, I mean, I understand it's for to keep leadership on track so that the game stays on track and hopefully retains the quality that Bungie is known for, but. This is not an IP that people care about. It's not a new IP, but before this game was announced, I could not have told you that this was a thing that existed. I couldn't have, and we talk about video games every week.
So it's an obscure one.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And so now we sit here and we watch at the state at Bungie right now, and we got to wonder, man. Is PlayStation having some buyer's remorse? Is that why we're in this kind of tricky situation? Is prime time Bungie over with now? Like we saw them with the rise of Halo and how phenomenal their work with Halo was. Destiny launching fairly solidly, and then figuring out the steps of games as service in that, and then Destiny 2 for the most part has just been a complete banger from beginning to end, with the exception of the last expansion that came out. And then now you look at the Final Shape, said to be the last Destiny 2 expansion, and then Marathon, which the idea of it is exciting. Bungie working on a different IP than what we've seen in the last couple of years, and something that a refreshed take on it. In today's day and age would be exciting now with the backing of publishing from PlayStation. But Bungie has now just been tossed from publisher to publisher, first Xbox, then EA, and then now we see them with PlayStation. And they just never seem happy. They never seem at home. Even when they were on their own for quite a while, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like Bungie knows where they want to be in the space anymore.
Yeah, I mean, if you remember, I'm looking it up again here. About a month ago, there was the comments from Hiroki Todaki at PlayStation saying that he was disappointed with basically, what was it exactly? It needed room for improvement and accountability for development timelines. It's, not exactly a strong morale boost from PlayStation, who, we got to ask what's their role in all of this and how they've, were they responsible for wanting the game director changed? Are they the ones trying to also push it out the door along with the Bungie executives? Who knows?
I mean, these are all behind the scenes talks. Yeah. I know that I want what's best for Bungie here. I want to see if their game creates, but hearing, from the accounting departments here, it's like, yo, this isn't adding up. Like, we're in a bad spot here. And unless the Final Shape does bombastically well, which I don't know if it will, I imagine it will do well, probably even better than some of the other expansions that have happened lately. Certainly Last Light But now that we're on the other end of it, or now that we're coming to the other end of it, I don't know. I don't foresee us sending Destiny 2 off with the bang that certainly Bungie wants it to be. And, you know, I don't foresee Destiny 2 taking over the world again, which is probably what it needs to do in order to save people's jobs, which is unfortunate. And to see the degradation of Bungie, you know, this is a legacy developer. This is a legendary developer with a lot of talent over there, a lot of talent. Listen, Destiny 2 is one of the best playing first-person shooters of all time. Like, it feels good to shoot a gun in that game. And
they kept it alive for multiple years too. It wasn't like eventually these games are going to stop being supported. Overwatch, Destiny, and they've had a good run of it.
Oh,
one of the best records.
They've had a great run. God, it was before my mom moved houses when that game came out. So what are we looking at?
2014, I believe.
That was the first one.
Yeah, the first. Oh, I thought you were
2014, 2015. I think 2017 sounds right for Destiny 2.
I think so.
And yeah, what a game. Like, really is just a great game. So it's disappointing to see Bungie kind of fall to the wayside here. Is this because of PlayStation? I don't know. Is this choices made from when they were an independent developer? I don't know. You know, but what I do know is that it doesn't look bright right now for them, and that's unfortunate because, you know, I struggle to think of a Bungie game I don't at least like, you know.
Well, outside of the dourness, there is hope that it can be good. You know, this is a game we don't really know anything about yet substantially, so they could knock our socks off.
Yeah, but how much of the team is going to be there for it, you know? And we're talking development times. They're trying to rush it out the door. Is it going to be undercooked? Is it going to be underbaked? Is it going to be the full vision? I don't know. It's hard to tell. But moving on, Connor, to topic number 2, your first penny of the day. We've got an interesting conversation piece taken over here. So go ahead, jump right into it, my friend.
So we got some stuff over the last week from some the
GDC happened.
Yeah, GDC did.
Yeah, a lot of stuff, a lot of awards, a lot of news headlines, a lot of people saying a lot of things, a lot of people saying free Palestine. Hey, free Palestine. But yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff happening. So and the guys over at Larian made some headlines.
Yep. Over at Game Rant from Lauren Beeler Bystad, Baldur's Gate 3 director blames gaming layoffs on greed. Sven, or I believe it's pronounced Sven, Vink, director of Baldur's Gate 3, has spoken out about the massive layoffs that have been hitting the gaming industry, citing corporate greed as the ultimate culprit. Baldur's Gate 3 was one of the most successful releases of last year, and the game's director has had some strong words for the industry. Despite last year being one of the greatest years for gaming in terms of major releases, there was also plenty of upsetting news regarding the state of the overall industry. Mass layoffs have been plaguing the games industry for a long time now, and these layoffs seemingly hit an apex in 2023. Unfortunately, the layoffs haven't slowed down this year either. It seems like every week there is a new major studio laying off hundreds of employees, and it has become incredibly worrying that these layoffs don't seem to be stopping anytime soon. However, the director behind Baldur's Gate 3 recently spoke up in regard to this problem in the industry, and he didn't mince words. Baldur's Gate 3 director Sven Vink addressed mass layoffs at the Game Developers Conference, GDC, as reported by Eurogamer, stating that the greed is the main factor behind letting employees go. Recently, Larian Studios made an announcement encouraging developers laid off by other companies to apply to the studio, and Sven Vink has continued to mirror Larian's support with his words at the Game Developers Conference. Sven Vink had some strong words for companions.
Gotta hit this fucking word count, don't you?
Yeah.
Game Rant.
That resort to laying off significant portions of staff, stating that they ruin things for the entire industry. As Vink continued in his address, he mentioned the corporations seem to only care about quarterly profits instead of the overall project, and this leads to mistakes that not only cost talented developers their jobs, but also comes at a cost to the companies over time as well, since they end up hiring back new developers anyway. Quote, "You can make reserves. Just slow down a bit. Slow down on the greed. Be resilient. Take care of the people. Don't lose the institutional knowledge that has been built up in the people you lose every single time. So you have to go through the same cycle over and over and over. It really pisses me off," Vink said. The director's words and feelings were made very clear during this speech, and it shows where Larian Studios stands on the subject. As Larian Studios looks towards the future, it seems to care about retaining its staff for those projects in order to be efficient. There's no telling when this onslaught of layoffs will finally end, but it will hopefully be soon. With Apex Legends being the most recent layoffs to be added to the growing list of affected developers, it's alarming that this is happening so frequently. However, it's great when people within the industry, like Vink, speak up on the matter and stand up for those who are affected. Yeah, we usually don't see people of his caliber at the respective gaming companies, directly attack an issue, which we all talk about all the time, which is greed in the gaming industry.
He does have a privileged perspective or a privileged position in the industry where he's the head of, now one of the biggest studios in the world with the success of Baldur's Gate 3. But they're fully independent, they're crowdfunded, and they deliver great games. So, he's allowed to talk his shit a little bit, as the great Kendrick Lamar said in his most recent verse on the Future and Metro Boomin collab album, I'm really that guy,
He's that guy.
Really that guy. So, no,
he didn't
first of all, props to Larian here for standing on morals here, or standing on their laurels here. Props to them for putting out in a big way, in a way that matters, what we've been saying on this podcast for a long time, where the greed is just out of control. These CEOs are making hundreds of millions of dollars every year, but can't afford salaries for a couple of talented developers who are busting their ass to make you those millions of dollars. It doesn't add up. And you look at numbers from like Nintendo CEOs who are making $2 million as opposed to Bobby Kotick, who made $150 something million, and you see the greed. It's right there. It's plain as day and it's obvious. So props to Larian for delivering this message. Also, bit of news over GDC. They announced, hey, they're not working on another Baldur's Gate anything. No Baldur's Gate 4, no Baldur's Gate 3 expansions really in development at all. And interesting thing, thing to take. They're on to the next thing, on to a different project from here on, which is how games used to get made. You would make a game, it'd come out, people would like it, love it, or hate it, and then you'd move on to the next one.
Yeah, and Baldur's Gate 3 doesn't need to be, a whole big sequel. It could just, or Baldur's Gate, I should say.
Yeah.
They don't need to. It told its story, and now they're getting out.
Yeah.
And I believe he also said, that the next game was going to dwarf it. Pretty bold words, whatever that game is.
Dwarf Baldur's Gate 3?
Baldur's Gate 3.
That is bold. Didn't he also said something about moving away from the Dungeons and Dragons?
He's not doing anything. They're doing their own thing.
Yeah.
Like, potentially, they said Divinity, the next Divinity game, is on the way. So.
Which would be 4?
3.
3?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We need to play those games. I've heard only amazing things.
I'm interested after Baldur's Gate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Play slightly differently. Not as.
Sure. It's a little more actiony, isn't it?
I believe so.
Yeah.
But don't take my word for it.
Okay.
Ultimately, they're doing some interesting things over at Larian between, not riding on what would obviously be a good moneymaker with more Baldur's Gate content and coming out against greed. It seems sincere. It doesn't come across as a pandering type message. He's just a guy who was talking.
I just think it's really interesting how it's like, this is like, there are tried and true fundamentals that work in this industry. Keep your developers on staff, have some retention so that they know everybody knows each other. A chemistry starts forming. We can start making creative decisions in smarter and faster ways. We understand the engine that we're working in. We're able to problem solve for common issues that we already know about. We don't have to waste time training and getting people attuned to our engine, which is complicated and so forth. Just a lot of really great ideas here. And you're able to, kind of start putting out titles at a rate that keeps your studio alive. Where has that thought gone? Like, why is it no longer the MO for these game studios? Why is it now, hey, put out a game. All right, well, now you need some DLC. Now you need a roadmap. Now you need all these things. Whoa, 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 whoa. Can we, just put out a great piece of art, a great video game, a fun experience, and then build off a fandom from there? Why does every game need a 5-year plan ahead of it when we don't even know if we're going to get this one out of the door?
Exactly. I mean, I'm going to say it because I have to. From Software. They are pretty good at this. They had the multiple Dark Souls games, but they said 3's it. You know, we had our thing, we did it, move on to the next thing. And they've done
Maybe we'll
almost
do
every
an
game next time.
expansion. Maybe we won't. Maybe we'll do some free update or something like they did with Sekiro. But, you know, Sekiro never got DLC. It was a very successful game.
Yeah.
Game of the year, you know? Elden Ring, obviously going to get its big expansion this year. Probably its only big expansion this year.
And that's fine.
And that's fine. And then they're moving on. Elden Ring 2. We're moving on to another IP, another new IP, bringing Armored Core back, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Armored Core 6, is that going to get DLC? I wouldn't be surprised if it did or didn't.
Mm-hmm.
You know, either way, it'd be like, of course.
If it comes, it comes.
Yeah. So I don't know. And then you look at legacy studios who once upon a time they put out a game. It had a multiplayer, maybe some map packs or something like that, and then they move on to the next one. We got 3 Halo games in one generation of consoles, and now we're struggling to get one out. Let alone them moving on to Destiny. And it's like, man, everybody's enjoying Destiny, sure, but like, is that how you build hype? Is through expansions? I don't know if you do. You know, I don't think human brains work in the way of like, oh, I want to make sure I come back to this game that I've already played for that. I think they go, oh, I want the new.
I mean, kind of a similar other example is BioWare. They did their Mass Effect games. They came out really well, and then they started going to Anthem. They started doing their, you know, Andromeda thing, trying to, you know, extend it past
Andromeda
the
a
point where
little
it's
bit
going
different,
to.
a bit of a different story. It was just kind of like mismanagement and developer crunch and stuff going on there. And they were fucking around with technology that, you know, didn't pan out. So like years of development time went to waste. But Anthem is a better example of like, that's a studio that is doing something they're not known for, and it didn't pan out, you know, which is a common thing. But like, I mean, Bungie's good at making games as service games, but obviously it's just not paying the bills. You know, it was a great idea, and it's working for some studios really, really well, but it's obviously just not in favor anymore. You know, players are wanting siloed experiences, I think, whether it's multiplayer or single player. Like, they want this thing, and then, you know, a toy gets old. It gets old. It just does, you know? Moving on. Topic number 3. And Connor, this is going to be your second story of the day. This is interesting, and it's been a continuation of a topic of conversation we've had for several weeks now. So go ahead and take it away, my friend.
Yes, we got an article from Video Game Chronicles. Tom Ivan, for some publishers, reportedly questioning support for Xbox amid flatlining sales. That's according to GamesIndustry.biz head Chris Dring, who said his takeaway from GDC last week was that he thinks, quote, Xbox is in real trouble as a hardware manufacturer, end quote. Oh, continuing the quote. The other thing I heard it from a very prominent campaign, and one not so prominent was Xbox's. I heard it from a very prominent company, and one not so prominent was Xbox's performance in Europe is just flatlining, he said. You can follow our monthly coverage in the games market, and you can see that Xbox sales are failing.
I'm sorry, GamesIndustry.biz, your fucking website sucks. No, VideoGameChronicles.com, your fucking website sucks.
And it's been failing all throughout last year, and it's falling even harder this year. Quote, the phrase one major company who released a big game last year said was, I don't know why we bothered supporting it. We mentioned on a previous podcast that we heard retailers in Europe are considering or had already considered been cutting back their Xbox stock on their shelves, hardware, games, that kind of thing. And now you've got third-party publishers going, we're putting in a lot of effort trying to create a Series S version and an X version of a game, when to be honest with you, for us, the market is PC and PS5, end quote. Last year, Microsoft admitted to having lost the console wars after consistently ranking third behind PlayStation and Nintendo in terms of sales since entering the market with the original Xbox in 2001. PS5 has outsold Xbox Series XS by around 2-1 globally as of the end of 2023, according to data shared by Grand Theft Auto publisher Take-Two. And in February, Microsoft delivered an Xbox business update which confirmed reports that it's planning to bring more first-party games to PlayStation and/or Switch in the forms of Pentiment, Hi-Fi Rush, Sea of Thieves, and Grounded. Xbox has also reportedly weighed up the idea of releasing Gears of War, Microsoft Flight Simulator, the next Doom game, Starfield, and Indiana Jones for rival consoles. And boss Phil Spencer recently told The Verge, quote, "I don't think we should, as an industry, ever roll out gaming going to any other platform." Drink continued, and with the Xbox putting some of the games on PS5, from what I understand, the majority of them will be coming across at some point, assuming it progresses as Xbox believes it probably will. I think Xbox is in real trouble as a hardware manufacturer, and that was the thing that came out of GDC for me. He added, "I thought it might be fine, but then I didn't really factor in that some developers and publishers might just go, yeah, I don't, is there any point? And that is when you can lose it."
Uh-oh.
Not good news.
Uh-oh.
It's not too hard to see this coming, though, in the console war specifically. They just haven't been measuring up to the two other big guys.
Is this the big three everybody's been talking about on Twitter?
No, Tavin. It's the other big three that you keep bringing up.
Oh, is it the Kendrick, J. Cole, and Drake?
And the fucking piggyback.
And you know what?
Every fucking time.
A lot like J. Cole, Xbox last year admitted that they're running third. They're throwing the bronze at them,
Oh, he admitted that?
in one Heaven's EP song, which is a good song. Good verse. J. Cole, you're not running third. But you're not running first, man. Fuck the big three. It's just big me. You know what I'm saying? That's PlayStation right now, my boy. That's PlayStation right now. They saying, man, fuck this big three, boy. What you mean? That Switch ain't even competing with what we're putting out over here. You can't get experiences like this anywhere else. It's just us. It's just us. No, I'm playing, of course. No, but
finally, you shut up. Gotta read.
This doesn't surprise me. This doesn't surprise me. I think Xbox is trying to pivot in their business strategy right now. I think they've got their fingers in a lot of different pots, and I don't think any of them are delivering on the way that they were hoping it would. Game Pass, I think, is plateauing. At least it seems that way from how they talk about it, that they've got all the console subscribers that they can possibly get. PC is still climbing, but, at some point that's going to run out too, and you're just going to plateau in the amount of income that you're making month over month. And with rising costs and so forth, it's just impossible to get more cash out of that. They don't have hit sales, or they don't have a hit IP. Hi-Fi Rush was cool. Starfield didn't really seem to move the needle as much as they were hoping it would. And honestly, I don't foresee Indiana Jones doing it either, though I am quite excited for Indiana Jones personally. I think PlayStation is... I think Xbox is in trouble here. And, a flatlining or a plateauing of Xbox consoles happening makes sense to me. Listen, I think they were the only gaming hardware seller that kind of got lucky in the pandemic, in that the Series S was a lower grade console that was a little cheaper, so it was easier to make because it was made of more simple materials and so forth. So while the PS5 and the Nintendo Switch were struggling to meet demand, the Series S was able to kind of scoop up some of those sales. So I think 2020 was probably a pretty good year for them on the sales figure wise. But that has started to trail off, especially as PlayStation starts doing what PlayStation does, in that you get Spider-Man 2s, you get Final Fantasy VII Rebirths, you get, what's another big one? God of War Ragnaroks, and so forth. And that trend is going to keep continuing as you look down the horizon and you go, all right, well, Naughty Dog's coming with something at some point. Ghost of Tsushima 2 is going to happen at some point. Death Stranding 2 is on the horizon. And you just continue to look at these premier experiences, and it's like no shit, I'm going to go over there. Helldivers 2 being a surprise success to everybody. Nobody expected Helldivers 2 to do what it's doing.
I kind of did.
No, you
didn't.
I
had it on the fantasy critic.
No, you didn't.
I
Shut
knew.
the fuck
I
up.
believed
You didn't
in
know.
it.
You
I
didn't
believed
know.
in it.
And also didn't get you the points that match the sales. Sales aren't contributing to your.
That's
to
the
your
reviewer's fault.
Good game, that Helldivers 2.
Yeah.
You want to play some tonight?
No.
Fucking piece of shit.
I gotta eat, and then my free time is gonna be spent playing the other game you want me to play. You want to have your cake and eat it too?
Yeah, go play that game.
Yeah,
Go play that game. Go play that game. Well, listen, if Square Enix can have their cake and eat it too. No, I'm playing. I take back a few of those harsh words I said in my review. Just a few of them. Still don't like that ending. Still don't like it. But
It did things.
they've got listen, they're doing 3D chess over there. They're doing 3D chess over there at Square Enix. Is it going to pay off? I don't know.
What if it ends up doing the opposite of what you were afraid of, which is when it's shown in the big picture, you become to appreciate what they do in Rebirth more? Is that I mean
that's possible. It's very possible that happens. But as of right now, I don't know if I 100% agree with where we're going here.
Well, I agree with you that Microsoft isn't really doing all that great. There's this. I've heard some like mutterings online that people are kind of aching for a new, handheld console. Not like Switch, but like the PSP, PS Vita.
Conversation.
Xbox has a petition to try
PSP
do
turned
something.
19 years old yesterday or something like that, and everybody went, "This was a great console. Why don't we get more of these?"
Xbox could come in and say, well, PS5, PlayStation, they got their thing going on with their mainline console. Why don't we sneak into this market that's been pretty rejected recently? I could say VR as well, but a handheld console would be a lot more of a surefire plan. Because, that and...
VR's not going to work.
No, it's not. That or making more impressive games, standout games. If you're really if you could take off some of the money
clearly it's hard to just make more impressive games.
It is, but if you maybe lean off trying to do a bunch of hardware updates and making your next console that's not going to do as well, maybe you can just put that into developing more video games.
I just feel like the real problem is that Xbox took the route of having multiple SKUs. Here's a lower grade SKU, here's a higher grade SKU, and you get to pick which one you want as a consumer, which is great for consumers. That's fantastic. But the problem is they also said to publishers and developers, hey, if you're coming to Xbox, you got to be great for both. And that's where I think they fucked up. That's why Baldur's Gate 3... Has it even come to Xbox yet?
It has, yes.
It has? Okay, great.
Took a while, though.
Yeah, that's why it took a while. And everybody went and played it on PlayStation. Everybody went and played it on PC. And, we all had a great time with it. And by the time it came to Xbox, the conversation was over. It had happened, it had gone away, and we're on to the next thing. So, I just don't think... I've been on this show for years now saying... I love Xbox's practices. I love what they do for the consumer. I love Game Pass. I love the different SKUs. I love how open they are with everything.
Going under other consoles.
I love their advancements in accessibility with the Xbox accessibility controller. They were the first big publisher to come out and do that. They do a lot of great stuff, but they're not tactful about it. And I wish they were a little more tactful about it. The forcing developers to make quality games for both SKUs of consoles is an example of that. Hey, man, let them get to the Series S first. If you have a Series S, you get it that year. If you don't, hey, the guy or a Series X, excuse me. God, and the naming conventions are so confusing. But the Series S, let it come later. Just say, hey, if you bring it to the X, you do have to bring it to the S, but it can be a year later or something like that. Let them figure it out there, and then you can still recoup some sales and some percentages off of that. And then you don't have to stoop so low as to just basically becoming a third-party publisher and putting Hi-Fi Rush on PlayStation. Phil bought his copy of Hi-Fi Rush today on PlayStation. Hey, Xbox, he didn't buy it in the first place. He would have bought it if you had put it on your own shit.
But they missed out.
So yeah, these are problems. These are issues, and they need to be resolved. Xbox needs to pivot. They're trying to pivot. They're trying to figure out what the secret sauce is to where they can do all these great things. And I really do. I hope they succeed because, I mean, I've said it multiple times, man. They're just so close. They're just consistently so close to being able to take it over. Yeah. But it's just not. It's just not working for them, and we may have the new Sega on our hands.
Could be. It seems to be possibly going that route. But you mentioned before, I'll just cap this off. They do something. What was the accessibility controller called again?
No idea.
No clue? Yeah. Well, I guess this is a good time to mention there was a figure in the fighting game community, Broly Legs, who was very well known for Super Smash Bros. Melee and Street Fighter. He was disabled, but he was able to play and do very well in tournament plays.
He tagged us last week, didn't he?
He did, yeah. He unfortunately passed away. So, pretty legendary in the fighting game community. And so it's sad that he passed away. Felt like it needed to be mentioned.
And it's also talking about Xbox.
Yeah.
There just seems to be like there was easy wins for you guys. Do I sound a little quiet?
Not really.
I feel like I sound a little quiet in my head. No, the levels look fine. All right, fine, whatever, fuck it. It seemed like when they acquired Activision Blizzard King, there were some easy wins that they could have had. Toys for Bob was just sitting there, man, and they've been let go. They've been sold, or given their independence, and leaving Activision and going independent in that. And it is worth noting, VGC put out an article today. No, 24th, 2 days ago, yesterday. 2 days ago from when you hear this. Spyro and Crash Studio Toys for Bob has reportedly agreed to a partnership with Microsoft on its next game. The studio announced last month it was leaving Activision Blizzard and becoming an independent studio, but it didn't rule out working with Activision Blizzard's new owner, Microsoft. In their statement last month, studio heads Paul Yan and Avery Lodato, there's so many vowels, said that despite the decision to go independent, they were, quote, exploring a possible partnership with Microsoft. This now appears to be finalized, according to a report on Windows Central, which claims Microsoft and Toys for Bob have reached an agreement on the latter's next game. According to a report, which cites sources familiar with a recent Xbox town hall meeting held for staff, Xbox Game Studios head Matt Booty was asked what was happening with Toys with Bob. Toys for Bob? Toys with Bob. I thought it was Toys for Bob. Toys for Bob. There's a typo in this article of VGC. Get your shit together. Booty reportedly said, I'm so sorry, VGC. Reportedly said that agreement had been reached with Toys for Bob for its first game as an independent studio. And while he didn't confirm what that game would be, he did say it would be similar to games Toys for Bob has made in the past. Spyro 4?
That's what Phil wants.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, the VGC article has him on the thumbnail photo, so
Spyro.
clearly someone else does.
I mean, we had a Crash 4 that did successful, but do we immediately jump into a Crash 5? I don't know. It would make sense. I mean, they did the Crash remakes, and then they did the Spyro remakes, and then they did Crash 4. So
natural progression.
I mean, if I'm just following the pattern here, Spyro 4 should happen. And hey, fuck it, bring Spyro 4 back. Yeah, Spyro games are fun. They're kids games. Very simple, but they're fun. You've played one Spyro game, you played them all. I'd be down for a new one. Hey, what does Spyro look like in 2024, 25, 26?
It looks nicer. I don't know what else.
I don't know. I mean, new mechanics, new ideas, new stories, something like that. Crash 4 is said to be the best Crash Bandicoot game. It'd be exciting if maybe they've got the best Spyro the Dragon game in them. I would like to see that.
I would too. I'd play it, I guess. I don't know.
But again, Microsoft,
good for them.
These were easy things you could have done. You didn't have to lose the studio over this. But you didn't have a vision for Toys for Bob. That's an easy vision. Hey, what were you guys making before you became a Call of Duty asset studio? You're making Spyro? Go back. Go. You want to keep making Spyro? Go back. Go do it.
They don't have their shit together.
They don't have their shit together, man. Yeah. These are easy wins. People bought the Crash Bandicoot trilogy. People bought the Spyro trilogy. People bought Crash 4. It happened. I watched it. Especially the Crash Bandicoot trilogy was a huge success. Mm-hmm. People are hearkening back to that era of games, and Toys for Bob wants to do it. Let them fucking do it.
The Xbox One got announced. It's been all downhill from there. And maybe
they've not been all downhill. They've done some good stuff.
They've done some good. But in terms of their position in the gaming landscape, it's certainly not the same level it once was. Even with all the great things they've done, which are many.
Which makes me question choices reportedly being made in our next topic, Connor, and our final topic of the day. And my second penny of the day, Resident Evil 9 will be open world, leaker suggests. I'm going to say that again, ladies and gentlemen. Resident Evil 9. Resident Evil will be open world?
The problem?
This is coming from Eurogamer.net by Vicky Blake. Resident Evil 9 is reportedly being developed as an open world game. That's according to noted leaker Dusk Golem, who said that following Capcom's improvements to the RE engine when developing open world experiences like Dragon's Dogma 2, Capcom is eager to capitalize on the expanded tech when making Monster Hunter Wild and Resident Evil 9. Quote, so here's a little tidbit I'll share, Dusk Golem said on X/Twitter. Quote, Capcom often will greenlight new initiatives in threes closer together. Decent examples are RE7, RE2, and DMC5 were all greenlit fairly close together to take advantage of their new RE engine, and the idea to remake RE2 inspired them to also take on RE3 and RE4 for a remake initiative. Dragon's Dogma 2 expanded RE functionality for open world games. The two other games building on this tech is Monster Hunter Wild and Resident Evil 9. All three project goals sick? What the fuck does that mean? Has been to retain the series' DNA, Golem added in a subsequent tweet. Dragon's Dogma 2 is still clearly Dragon's Dogma. Wild is still clearly Monster Hunter. Same will be true for RE9 with Resident Evil. Capcom has not formally confirmed that Resident Evil 9 is in development, although it's fair to presume it is. While Monster Hunter Wild was announced back in December 2023, in case you missed it, Shinji Mikami, the legendary developer behind Resident Evil and a string of other classics, recently founded a new company titled... All right, we don't need to talk about that. Listen. I'm a big Resident Evil fan. I'm a big fan of a lot of these legacy titles from the early PS1 days. I love Resident Evil. I love Metal Gear Solid. I love Final Fantasy VII. Hey, guess what? You don't need to make them all open world. I would argue Metal Gear was better when it was linear. I would argue Final Fantasy VII was better when it was linear. I would argue Resident Evil will be better linear than it will be open world. I'm going to make it that bet now. Put it in writing. Put it in stone. Resident Evil 9 open world. Maybe it'll be a good game, but it won't be as good as the hot streak you've been on for the last 5 years.
It certainly has less of a chance to be so. You know, with something like Final Fantasy, in the part that they've covered in Rebirth, you're going across the planet. You're going from place to place to place. So implementing a open world setting, even if it doesn't end up panning out, made sense, especially when we were first seeing it.
And I would say, still good.
Yeah.
Still good. Not necessary.
Exactly, not necessary. Metal Gear Solid, it's also one that does better linear, but there's still that area to be open world. They kind of played around with it. No, not really. Not in Peace Walker. But obviously, I was like, no, that was pretty linear.
Those were dropping you in a level. Go to the end of the
level.
level.
Were there different routes you could take, though? It, advocated for that?
Sometimes. It'd be like two. Do you want to go left or right?
Okay, yeah. But with Resident Evil, it just makes a lot less sense. We recently played Resident Evil for the Game Club, where we rank games after we play every month.
Or the remake of the original.
Remake. The one everyone knows. And one of the cool things that game did was you had a small map, but you would have to double back a lot. Sometimes that was negative with the inventory system. But from a game design perspective, a level design perspective, it was nice to go back, unlock doors that you otherwise couldn't have unlocked, find little secrets hidden about in these nooks and crannies you're going through. A lot of that made that game extremely fun, and they've kind of carried that through subsequent games. Making it open world would be putting a little bit too much on your plates and detract from the smaller little things that you can find in those Resident Evil titles.
I mean, and they were playing around with these mechanics in Village.
Yeah.
Village is open-ish. That when you're running around the village, it feels open-ish. You go back to it, you explore it some more at your own pace and so forth. And those are kind of the lamest parts of the game. No, that's not true. The final act is the last. Yeah, okay. All right, never mind. I take that back. But the best part of the game is most definitely the castle. When you're being traditional Resident Evil. Listen, Resident Evil is at its best when it's focused on its level design. This has to be an action title, right? It has to be a la...
They can't do that, though.
It has to be a la Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil Village. It has to be, right?
Oh,
you can't keep tension in an open world setting. You can't keep suspense, pacing. All of that goes out the window when you go to an open world setting. And survival horror thrives on those things. So clearly, RE9 is not interested in being much of a survival horror video game, at least in any traditional sense. It's clearly much more interested in being some kind of open world action game with survival horror elements within it. But okay, how does that work? Am I still conserving ammo? Am I still breaking open crates? Am I still, saving to get to a save room or something like that? Like, how does that work? The only way that I'm even slightly interested in this is the Nemesis system.
Yeah.
Or the Mr. X, the Tyrant system in that. I think in an open world setting, something like that would thrive. It's hard to make that mechanic work within a confined setting. But if you can make it work in an open setting, that would be interesting. But would that be fun in an open world setting, having this thing constantly fucking chase you around, or would that get annoying? Is that going to tip the scale in the balance? Yeah. Mr. X has rules. That's why he works. He can't go to this side of the mansion. He can't, or the RPD. He can't enter these rooms. If I get through this bit, I've gotten past him. This is a safe zone. Obviously, you get into specific buildings in an open world setting, you're fine. But is he gonna just wait out the door? With whatever enemy this is, whatever they justify it as. Are they just gonna wait out the door? I remember Resident Evil Village, the big dog thing that you fought, annoyed the shit out of me. It was an annoying ass boss fight. I didn't like it because the motherfucker would just fucking wait for me to come out. I didn't like it. I liked Lady Dimitrescu. I liked Mr. X. I kind of liked Nemesis, though they didn't really use it to its full advantage there. But I don't see the vision. If they have the vision, I would love for them to prove me wrong. But I don't see the vision. Shout out to Russ Doe in the chat, shouting out, saying our takes are interesting. I appreciate it. Anyways, I don't know, man. Wouldn't this work better for a DMC game?
Even then, it just wouldn't really do all that great. A DMC, in that case, it thrives on those arena-type settings where you're being able to go wild with the combat system.
Yeah.
And just randomly fighting spurts of enemies as you go across an overland just doesn't sound as appealing as working towards the definitive goal. This really does seem like it's just jumping on the fad of...
I feel like it would make it better for grinding and earning skills, though.
Getting the way Devil May Cry has always worked is you don't need to even do that in the base game. You get it you're normally progressing through the game. Yeah. And you get new bosses that you fight, get new weapons. A lot of it's centered around that. I think this is... I don't want to say it's because of Elden Ring, but definitely the more common feature of having an open world game is influencing them to think, maybe we can do this.
From Software, from a design ethos perspective, is a similar studio to what the Resident Evil guys do.
Yeah.
Similar. You see it. Level design, exploration, atmosphere, dripping with it, all of that. Yeah, you kind of see it, but God, you guys are the best at this thing. Why are we moving away from it?
After you finally established yourself after the, departure from what made the series good with 5, which we like and is good.
We like 5, 6, definitely a trash fire of a video game.
And all of this kind of started based off the gameplay of 4. Do you really... I get you're going to change it because no longer are we going to do the Ethan Winter storyline and whatnot, which is a good thing.
Yeah, thank God. Thank God.
So now it is new territory, but are you really going to want to do open world? That's the first thing you go to? I just don't think that sounds...
Aren't we past this trend? This feels very 2011.
Yeah.
It feels very 2013. Aren't we past this point where it's like, oh, everything needs to be open world now? Why? No, things that... when it makes sense to be open world, it can be open world. This, I don't think, makes sense.
Oh, well. Maybe it will work.
Prove me wrong.
Yeah.
Prove me wrong.
We're just being Debbie Downers here.
We are. Because Resident Evil is a very specific thing to us.
I don't like new things.
And the last time Resident Evil went down a new path, it ended up almost killing the franchise. So now we're in a perspective where it's like, hey, you know what revived your franchise and is, in some people's mind, the greatest game in the series is when you took it back to its roots with RE7. I don't understand why people call it the greatest. It's definitely not, but, some people do.
You put it above Village.
It's definitely better than Village.
It's not.
It's absolutely better than Village.
It's not.
Yeah, 100% it's
No,
better
it's
than
not.
Village. 1,000%. It goes. This is the tier. It goes 2 remake, 1 remake, 4 remake.
That's top.
5
below it.
7 Village. Am I missing one?
Resident Evil 3.
Ooh, shit.
That's gonna be the bottom.
I'll put 3. I'll put 3 below Village.
Were you thinking about not? It's kind of crazy if you think that.
Yeah, it's a little bit more of that design ethos that I like, though, but it's just not as good. You know? Nah, yeah, and it's so short.
Cut. I remember there was things from the original game that
clock
weren't
tower's
in the new
gone
one.
or whatever. Yeah, all right. 3 goes below village. 3 goes below village. I really don't like the third dungeon in village. That segment sucks.
The fish.
The factory joint.
That's the fish.
Oh, the fourth one. I forgot about the fish one.
Yeah.
The fish one was okay. The factory joint at the
I
end.
still don't get that. That was a good one.
It was trash.
It was good.
It was awful. It was so bad.
The problem with the boss is not even.
That boss fight was awful.
No, not him. Not Dante. The other, whatever dumb name was, villain. Mother something.
Lady Dimitrescu?
No, the main bad guy, Mother something, like the.
Oh yeah, no, that boss fight was fine. It was good, but the one where you got in the mech, terrible.
Yeah, I thought it was fun.
It was awful, so bad. And then the story was terrible.
Ethan Winter stuff.
It sucks.
Bring back the character.
Which is why 7 stories good.
I mean, it's interesting. Yeah, sure. Yeah, no, it's good. Yeah, it's good. But that's it. That's the only thing it has.
It's definitely not great. I'll tell you what. It's definitely not great, but it's good. It holds your interest from beginning to end.
But the combat's way more stiff, and then the enemies are kind of bland.
The enemies are bland. I'll give you that. But the boss fights are all of those boss fights are better than anything in Village.
Are you really going to say that?
Absolutely, I'm going to say that.
My reaction fighting that second boss was greater than anything 7 gave me in its whole entire experience.
That's not a fight, though.
It's a fight.
It's not a fight.
It's the boss encounter.
You don't fight it.
It's a boss encounter.
You run away from it, and then you go find a doll and stab
It's
it.
like a puzzle. It's like a puzzle boss.
It is like a puzzle. It is like a puzzle, but it's not combat.
It's way more effective than
the Baker
anything else in
family.
7.
The Baker family is way better than any of the boss fights in Village.
Fair enough. But that's the only other that it's like not a massive gap, but a definitive gap between Village and 7.
I'll agree to that.
But you're thinking the other way.
I think it's bigger than what you're thinking, but I wouldn't the gap I'm saying I would not define as massive.
Fair enough.
But it's bigger. You know, it's a sizable gap.
Yeah.
Sizable. What's after that? 6, bottom of the barrel.
Yeah.
It's just a really bad game. It's a bad video game.
We played it 2 years ago or something like that.
When it came out,
Recently.
when they re-released it for the 4.
Yeah.
2 years ago, Connor. That was 5 years ago. It's been a long time, buddy.
But that failed.
It might have been 7 years ago, actually. Now I think about it.
Jesus.
It's a long time ago, man.
Yeah.
We're getting old. I don't know if you know this. Time is moving through us.
It does?
Yeah.
Beats me.
Yeah. God. You wanna play Resident Evil 5 tonight?
No.
Oh.
So you're doing this thing, Tavin. I need to play fucking Rebirth.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching and listening. Remember, you can catch this show every Tuesday, 8 a.m. Central Time, youtube.com/2pennygames, at 2pennygames, and mainstream podcast services of your choice. Excuse me. You can also find us live over at twitch.tv/2pennygames. But we are about to move into our review for Princess Peach Showtime. We're going to get rid of this loser.
Good.
And we're going to bring in Phil because he's been playing it and he's got some opinions. Let me tell you what. So make sure you stick around for that. But until next time, have a great time. Connor, say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye, everyone.
What's poppin', players? Welcome back to a 2penny Games review. This time, Princess Peach Showtime. I am your host, Tavin Bothel, here with my good friend, co-host, and lead reviewer. Say hello to the people, Phil Shoemaker.
Hello, it's me, Phil. You startled me when you opened. It always jars me.
It's energy.
You go,
Gotta have the energy. Gotta get right in there. Get right in there. Just like you gotta get.
makes me scared.
Gotta get right into Princess Peach Showtime. Phil, you've been playing it over the weekend. I have no idea what your progress is on this game. How many hours? Have you rolled credits? What's going on here?
I have not rolled credits, but I don't think I'm that far off. This game is very short from what it feels like. I'm just zooming through.
Yeah. What are we looking? Are we looking like 5-ish? 8-ish?
This game.
Well, don't go into it. Just give me the time. I just want the time.
Oh, like hours?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say probably like 6 or 7 hours in. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Fantastic. Well, then go ahead, my friend, with your full review.
Yeah. So here I go. Princess Peach Showtime. It's all right.
Oh,
It's yeah. So I think that's a 6 on our scale, right?
that should be, yes, that's a 6 on our scale.
Yeah. This game is piss baby easy.
Okay.
For one, first off, there's only 2 buttons. Yeah, there's a jump and attack,
Oh, okay.
or I guess action, because not every version of Peach has an attack. Some of it is like Detective Peach, where you like use your magnifying glass to zoom in, or with I think they call her patisserie Peach, which is like a baker. It's like, oh, you mix a bowl, and it's a little mini game where you don't let the cake get too high up when you mix it, otherwise it'll explode. And there's one that I like. So each little show that Peach is in, changes. Like, she gets a different costume, right? That's kind of the gimmick that we're going here. She's going through all these levels as a different version of Peach, trying to stop the evil witch Grape from destroying this theater. That I don't even know what these little citizens are called. They look like wigglers without the rest of them. They look like just singular like digit wigglers. Like, say if my finger's a wiggler, they look like they're just the end of the wiggler, just like with legs and arms. Yeah. But yeah, a lot of the gameplay, like the game doesn't run very well. You know, which is surprising from a mainline Nintendo game, or from property as big as Mario. The loading screens buffer, like,
Oh, wow.
like there's drop frames on loading screens. They'll have like a little curtain ruffling like for the loading screen, and it like jitters, it stutters,
Yikes.
and it's very weird. Also, like, a lot of the background visuals are just kind of fuzzy and they don't look very good, and I don't think it's an artistic choice. I think it's just the fact that they're trying to do too much, and either they didn't optimize it well enough, or the hardware on the Switch is just too dated at this point for what they were trying to do. Either way, it's not the best looking. A lot of like the foreground designs and the just like backgrounds that aren't like physical assets, they look pretty cool. They look authentically like stage bits, or like this little roll, like you'll have a little fly with a well, not a fly because that's a different stage term. The rolling set piece, where they'll like, oh, you're on like a train track in a western, and you're riding this little card like 2D horse, basically, that's, if you see it from any angle other than straight on, you can see that it's like on wheels, or like has a little platform you stand on, right? It's very theater, you know. And I like that part of it. And a lot of the costumes that like change Peach, like each little introduction to you getting this costume as Peach is really neat. I like the way they kind of do these little. It's like a short 5 to 10 second cutscene where you just Peach changes form, right? And it's really, I like a lot of the design choices they have for, like Mermaid Peach is really neat. There's Cowgirl Peach. There's like a superhero Peach. I think it was like I can't remember the name of it. It's like Mighty Peach or something like that. And a lot of them are really interesting and creative, and a lot of them do interesting things. Like your attack for the Mermaid Peach is you're underwater and you're using your voice to control these fish.
Oh.
And you like direct the fish around the level, and they can like open chests, and they can make enemies go away. And there's a lot of interesting like kind of puzzle elements that like interesting for, I say interesting, like this, like I said earlier, this is a baby game. Like it's very much like introductory, kind of like the child playing this game isn't really reading the dialogue. They're really just going through these levels, looking at all the bright colors, and solving these very easy puzzles. And you know, I enjoy it for what it is. It's just not very. It seems very safe, you know.
Okay.
And you know, which you don't expect a whole lot of like breaking ground when it comes to like this kind of spin-off for a Mario. It just seems very paint by numbers in terms of like, oh, we're gonna have Peach be sword fighter, and it's gonna be kind of Three Musketeers-y, and that's probably I don't know. I hate that the combat is reduced to just 2 buttons, and for that matter, not just the combat, the entire game is 2 buttons and a control stick. You know, because I think they're maybe expecting kids to be playing on a Joy-Con. I don't know.
Single Joy-Con play. Yeah, I can see that.
Sure.
Yeah.
But there's no like multiplayer aspect that would behoove the child to have only one Joy-Con where the other person has another Joy-Con.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm not really getting the most out of this game. I'm what feels like a decent 60% way. There's like in terms of clearing these like stages, they're very Crash Bandicoot-esque in terms of like you choosing the stage, you complete 4 stages and then do like a little boss.
Okay. But it's on a 2D plane, right?
Not well. The hub world is 3D.
Oh, okay.
Everything else is relatively like 2.5D.
Okay.
Like there's some stuff you can go into the background, go into the foreground, some play in that right.
Some little big planet shit. I like it.
Yeah, a little bit. Very, very slight. It's nothing like Super Mario Wonder where you would go into a pipe and then pop up in the background, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nothing like that. It's really just like you can go this however far into the background to grab this little sparkle thing, which is like the collectible.
Yeah.
You get however, I think there's 10 per stage, and like for bonus stages there's like 5. But you just do it for doing things the best and finding everything in the level. Okay. You get all 10 or all 5.
Well, I mean, it's not like expectations were high for this one.
Yeah.
And you know, what you're giving me doesn't surprise me. But I was kind of hoping for like this to be a little bit of a surprise. At best, I thought maybe this is going to be on the level of, say, like a Luigi's Mansion or something, but I didn't have high hopes for that. Yeah. But you know, I was hoping that it would be something like how we got last year with Disney Illusion Island, where that's a very fun kids game that, you know, doesn't have a lot of buttons going on in that. It's mostly just jump, but there is some like action buttons or stuff in that. But like just through design, it keeps it interesting and keeps it fresh enough to keep it going and so forth. But this is a single player only game.
I believe so.
Yeah. That's unfortunate. It doesn't sound like we're taking full advantage of what we can do here with the Switch.
Another aspect like that I kind of want to bring up is because it's so easy. The only time I've like died, you'll lose. You have like 5 hearts to start. Like you have like 5 hits to basically before it's like you lose a life, or there's not really a life system in this one.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean. The only time I've actually like failed or like died in that way is the rhythm game that was like at the end of the the first mermaid stage that I did. Okay. I wasn't fully understanding what I was supposed to do, and it just took me a while to get it. And then there's each like mini game like that has like a control button where you can be like, oh, what am I supposed to do? And it just wasn't super clear. And then I just kind of figured it out. Maybe it's just my 8 brain and I was playing it too late at night to where I wasn't really reading it very well, or I don't know. But that was the only time I really like died in this game.
Gotcha. Okay. Talk to me about the variety of gameplay here. This is obviously one that it's like, hey, we're going to switch it up every, I don't know, couple of minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
Mini games, I assume a decent amount of in here. Talk to me about the quality of them. How many of them are they fun to come back to?
So in terms of the number of them, there aren't really that many. At least not that I've seen. The only ones that really change up the gameplay in terms of, instead of it being like a 2D, not like brawler, but like you know, you're going through a 2D 2.5D plane and you're fighting enemies as they come across the other screen, kind of like a TMNT type deal where like you have enemies coming across. And the only ones that change up from that are the mermaid one, which turns into more of a like puzzle solving using the fish to guide things around open chests. The chef one, or the baker one, I think it's patisserie, I don't know the word, but okay, there's like a baking mini game where it's basically just like mash the B button but not too much.
Now, is this a game where we are introducing mini games or introducing a change in mechanics, and then once we're past it we're throwing it away, or are these mechanics coming back?
It seems to be coming back. I think there are 2 dedicated levels for each like costume for Peach, and then after that there's a bonus that you go to like the basement of the theater and you do like a special. Sorry, Ash is wearing my shoes. She's looking funny. But there's like a bonus thing that like you go and rescue the original like actor for this role that you pick up. And I've only done a couple of those. There's one for the cowgirl that I did, and one for the sword fighter. The cowgirl one was kind of cool because you were saving this little like semi-wiggler. It's what I'm going to call them now. They're like partial wigglers. That was like strapped to a pole in the middle of a train track that was going to get run over by a train. So it's very Western.
Okay.
And that part was fun, and it's very it was very like flowing, kind of like a Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze level. Where like you kind of just keep going forward, and it's just kind of one continuous like kind of like the mine carts, what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Just on the horse, with Princess Peach Showtime, but yeah, in terms of stuff returning, it seems like it's really only like a 3-level kind of gimmick, and then they're done with it. I imagine that they're gonna do something with the final boss where like, oh, you have to use all of your rolls and all of your powers to beat the final boss, right? I don't know exactly how many there are. There are some that were in the trailer that I have not gotten to yet.
Okay.
And there are more that I did not see in the trailer that I was like, oh, there's a lot more to this game than I thought. And that was like a nice little pleasant surprise, which kind of is contributing to the 6 rather than the 5. And I like some of the creative like changes they do with some of these costumes and the roles that you do, but it's not enough in my opinion.
Do you see yourself finishing this game out?
I'll probably finish it. Like it's a really easy game. I can't imagine me like getting like so hooked that I'm gonna be I have to 100% this game. There's not been a single time where I'm like, I gotta go replay this to make sure I get all the sparkles or whatever. So I feel like once I roll credits, I'm just gonna uninstall.
Makes sense. Oh, okay. So probably not a full recommend to Nintendo fans or people above a certain
very
age
much
range.
It's very much like if you want to get your kid into video games, just pop them in front of this one. And
but is it
they'll-
worth
they'll
them
have a
going
good
to this one, or should they reach for something else? Should they reach for an Illusion Island? Should they reach for a Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze or anything like that before going to this? Or
I could see a kid having a good time with this game. Would I recommend other games beforehand? Sure.
Yeah.
I haven't played Disney Illusion Island, but from how I've heard you talk about it, I would probably say reach for that first.
yeah, that game's fun and multiplayer.
Tropical Freeze, Tropical Freeze is another thing I would say like reach for that one first. Just because I think the overall quality of that game is higher.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I like the art style for some of the stuff. It just kind of overwhelms itself and kind of, I don't know. It becomes too much for the system or however poorly optimized this game is. But I can't give this one my full recommendation.
That's a little disappointing. I was hoping that this one would be like a little sleeper hit or something.
I was also disappointed. I fully stand by like this game is getting, I think right now it's a 75 on OpenCritic, which in my opinion I think is generous.
Oh wow.
Yeah. If it was me, I would have it closer to like 72 to 70.
No, go ahead, give it that 68, even though it would count against
No,
you. Give it up. You know what's funny? Days before this game, the embargo dropped and the reviews came out. Days before, I thought about counterpicking it. I was looking at it and I was like maybe, but it was just too much of a chance of it being quality. That there's that Nintendo magic going around. But
that's kind of where I was at because I was thinking about dropping it.
Yeah.
After I heard Tim's impressions on it from the Kind of Funny Gamescast.
Yeah.
Or I think it might have been Games Daily that he was talking about it
or something. Yeah.
But yeah, I toyed with the idea of dropping it, but I was like, I mean that game could get me like 8 to 9 points.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. But now that it's only giving me 5, I wish I had dropped it.
Sure. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is your review of Princess Peach Showtime. Thank you so much for watching and listening. I have been your host, Tavin Bothel, this year, your reviewer of Phil Shoemaker. Maybe skip this one. Hey, pick up Disney Illusion Island. That game was great. It was slept on, underrated. Multiplayer, you can play it with your kid. Much more fun that way. Every character is equivalent.
I would say wait for a sale, but it's Nintendo, so there's never going to be a sale.
What is this game sold at?
60.
Fuck. Oh God. Pretty sure Illusion Island was like 40, 50. Like, go pick up Illusion Island.
It's selling full price. So
yeah, that's nuts. Oof. No. And I can't say this is like fully unexpected because Nintendo, this generation at least, has had some misses with their spin-off titles. The Mario sports games have been big misses. The three of them that have come out this generation have not been up to par. You know, the ARMS and stuff, not great. You know, adventures and so forth. So yeah, maybe not this one unless you've got maybe you've got a young girl who wants to play as Princess Peach all the time. Sure, that one if you want. But other than that, Minnie Mouse is just as fun as Mickey and Donald. So, I'm just throwing that out there. Make sure you like, subscribe. Let us know what you thought of Princess Peach Showtime down in the comments below. If you're from the Two Penny Gamescast, thank you so much for watching and listening. Make sure you like and subscribe and follow us on mainstream podcast services. And until next time, have a great time. Phil, say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye.